I walked into Bella Vista that Saturday evening expecting a celebration. What I got was humiliation. My sister Rachel stood at the entrance beside her husband Todd, both wearing matching smirks. "You can sit over there," Rachel said, pointing to a cramped table in the back corner near the swinging kitchen doors. Todd snickered. I looked past them at the main table in the center of the restaurant, beautifully decorated, where my parents and Rachel's family sat watching me get put in my place like I was nothing. I stood there for what felt like forever, trying to understand what was happening. This was supposed to be Rachel's 10th wedding anniversary dinner. She had called me 2 weeks ago, asked me to come celebrate with the family. I thought we were past our childhood rivalry. I thought she actually wanted me there. "Christian, you're blocking the entrance," Rachel said, her voice syrupy sweet but her eyes cold as ice. I walked to the corner table, my face burning. The restaurant was packed, and I could feel other diners watching. The table was so small it barely held the place setting. It wobbled when I sat down. From here, I had a perfect view of the kitchen doors swinging open and closed, servers rushing past with trays. I also had a perfect view of my family's table, 20 feet away, but feeling like a mile. My parents, Patricia and Harold, sat with Rachel's in-laws. Rachel's 2 kids, both under 10, were giggling and coloring on their menus. Everyone looked so happy, so normal, like it was perfectly fine that I was banished to the corner like some kind of outcast. The waiter appeared beside me, a young guy who looked uncomfortable. "Can I start you with something to drink?" "Just water, please," I said quietly. My stomach was in knots. There was no way I could eat. I watched as my family's table received their drinks. Wine, expensive wine. The bottles kept coming. I pulled out my phone and texted Rachel. "What's going on? Why am I sitting alone?" I watched her check her phone. She glanced at me, smiled, and put it back in her purse without responding. The appetizers arrived at their table. Calamari, bruschetta, a seafood tower that looked like it cost more than my car payment. The kids squealed with delight. My father raised his glass in a toast. Everyone clinked glasses and drank. No one looked at me. I knew Bella Vista was one of the most expensive restaurants downtown. I had driven past it 100 times but never been inside. The prices were astronomical. I remembered reading a review that said, "Dinner for 2 could easily run $300. The waiter returned with my water. "Have you decided what you'd like to order?" "I'm not eating, thank you." He looked surprised but nodded and walked away. I sipped my water and tried to make myself invisible. A server pushed through the kitchen doors with a tray of dirty dishes, and the smell of garlic and grease wafted over me. This was torture. Their entrees arrived. Lobster tails, filet mignon, veal parmesan. I watched Todd cut into his steak, red juice pooling on the white plate. Rachel fed a bite of lobster to her youngest daughter, who clapped her hands. My mother laughed at something Rachel's father-in-law said. 2 hours crawled by. I sat there like a fool, occasionally checking my phone, pretending I had somewhere else to be. Other diners came and went. The restaurant started to empty out as it got later. Still, my family ate and drank and celebrated. Finally, they were done. Dessert plates were cleared, coffee cups emptied. Rachel stretched and said something to Todd. He nodded. They stood up. Then I saw the waiter approaching. He carried a black leather folder, the bill. I assumed he was taking it to Rachel's table. Instead, he walked straight toward me. He placed the folder in front of me with a polite smile. "Whenever you're ready, ma'am." I stared at it. "I think there's been a mistake. I didn't order anything." The waiter's smile faltered. "The reservation was under your name. Christian Hayes." "That's my name, but I didn't make a reservation. And I certainly didn't order all that." I gestured toward the empty main table. "Let me check with my manager," he said, taking the folder back. My heart was pounding. What was happening? Rachel and Todd walked over to my table. They were both grinning. "Thanks so much for hosting our anniversary dinner, Christian," Rachel said, loud enough for nearby tables to hear. "So generous of you." "What are you talking about? I didn't host anything." Todd laughed. "Come on, don't be like that. You offered." "I never offered to pay for your dinner." Rachel pulled out her phone and held it up so I could see the screen. Really? Because here's our text conversation from 3 weeks ago. Look, right here. You said, and I quote, "I'd love to treat you to an anniversary dinner. My gift to you both." I grabbed her phone and stared at the screen. The conversation showed my phone number. The texts looked real, but I never sent them. I would remember offering to pay for a dinner at a place like this. Rachel, I didn't send those texts. Sure you didn't. She took her phone back. Look, if you're having money problems, just say so, but you can't back out now. Your name is on the reservation. The waiter returned with the manager, a middle-aged man in a suit. He looked stressed. Miss Hayes, there seems to be some confusion. I didn't make this reservation, I said, and I didn't agree to pay for their dinner. The manager opened the bill folder and showed me the receipt. $2,500. My vision blurred. The reservation was made 3 weeks ago under your name, he said. We have your contact information on file. Someone used my information without my permission. Rachel sighed dramatically. Christian, please don't do this. You're embarrassing yourself. You offered to host. Everyone heard you. I looked at my parents, who had walked over with Rachel's in-laws. Mom, Dad, did I say I was paying for this dinner? My mother looked uncomfortable. Rachel told us you wanted to host. We thought it was very generous. I never said that. Rachel's face hardened. Your name is on the reservation, Christian. If you don't pay, they can call the police. It's theft of services. The manager cleared his throat. I'm afraid she's right. If the bill isn't settled, we'll have no choice but to involve law enforcement. I looked at the bill again. $2,500. It would nearly max out my credit card. But I also couldn't get arrested. My hands shaking, I picked up the bill. I looked at Rachel, at her smug, triumphant face, at Todd, still smirking like this was all hilarious. At my parents, who believed her over me. Not my problem, I said clearly. I stood up and walked toward the exit. I made it to the parking lot before my phone rang. The restaurant manager. Through the window, I could see Rachel inside, talking animatedly to him and pointing at me. My phone kept ringing. I knew I couldn't just drive away. This wasn't over. I answered the phone. Mr. Palmer, the manager, told me in a tight voice that I needed to return inside immediately or he would call the police. I took a deep breath and walked back into the restaurant. His office was small and cramped, filled with filing cabinets and the smell of old coffee. Mr. Palmer sat behind his desk and gestured for me to sit. He pulled up something on his computer. The reservation was made on October 5th, he said, turning the monitor so I could see. 3 weeks ago, made online through our website. The name on the reservation is Christian Hayes, your name. I didn't make that reservation. He clicked something else. A credit card was provided as a guarantee when the reservation was made. Let me print the information we have on file. He printed a page and handed it to me. It showed a credit card number, my name, an address. The address was mine, but the credit card number didn't match any of my cards. I don't recognize this card number, I said. Someone opened a credit card in my name. This is identity theft. Mr. Palmer looked skeptical. That's a serious accusation. It's the truth. I never made this reservation. I never agreed to pay for their dinner. He called Rachel into the office. She came in looking concerned, playing the part of the worried sister perfectly. Christian's claiming she didn't make the reservation, Mr. Palmer said. Rachel's eyes widened. What? Christian, why are you doing this? You made such a big deal about wanting to treat us. Show me proof, I said. She pulled out her phone again and opened her email app. Here. You emailed me 2 weeks ago confirming everything. Look. She held the phone up to Mr. Palmer. I looked over his shoulder. The email was from an address that looked like mine. It said all the right things, confirmed the dinner plans, said I was happy to pay for everything, but I never sent that email. That's not my email address, I said, looking closer. Look at the spelling. That's got an extra letter. Someone created a fake account. Rachel rolled her eyes. This is ridiculous. She's trying to get out of paying. I'm calling the police, Mr. Palmer said, reaching for his phone. Good, I said, because I want to file a report for identity theft and fraud. Rachel's expression flickered for just a second. Then she recovered. You're going to accuse me of fraud? Your own sister? Because you can't admit you made a mistake? Officer Brennan arrived 20 minutes later. He was in his 40s, tired looking, probably near the end of his shift. He listened to both sides of the story. "Ma'am, do you have any proof that you didn't make this reservation?" he asked me. "Do you have proof that I did? Other than fake texts and emails from accounts I don't control?" I showed him my real credit cards, none of which matched the number on file with the restaurant. I showed him my email account, logged in right there, showing no sent messages about any dinner reservation. Officer Brennan looked uncomfortable. "This sounds like a civil matter between family members. My suggestion is that you pay the bill tonight and sort this out between yourselves later." "If I pay this bill, I'm admitting I owe it. I don't. The alternative is that the restaurant presses charges for theft of services," he said. "Is that really what you want?" Rachel jumped in. "Please, officer, I don't want my sister arrested. She's clearly going through something. We just want the bill paid so we can all go home." My parents appeared in the doorway. My mother's eyes were red, like she'd been crying. "Christian, honey, please just pay the bill. We can figure this out later." "Mom," Rachel stole my identity. She used my information to make a reservation I never agreed to. "She's trying to frame me." "Rachel wouldn't do that," my father said firmly. "She's your sister. She did do it, and you're taking her side." My mother came over and put her hand on my arm. "Please don't make this worse. Just pay the bill. We'll talk about this tomorrow when everyone's calmed down." I looked around the room, the manager impatient, the officer ready to arrest me, my parents begging me to comply. Rachel standing in the corner with her arms crossed, looking victorious. I had no choice. If I didn't pay, I'd be arrested. If I did pay, Rachel won. I pulled out my wallet and handed my credit card to Mr. Palmer. He processed the payment, $2,500. I watched my available credit drop to almost nothing. Money I'd been saving for months, gone in an instant. The receipt printed. Mr. Palmer handed it to me. "Thank you for settling this, Miss Hayes. I hope you all can work this out." Rachel stepped forward and hugged our parents. "Thank you for talking sense into her. I know she's been stressed lately." I walked out of that restaurant feeling like I'd been hit by a truck. My whole body was shaking. I sat in my car for 10 minutes before I could even start the engine. At home, I immediately called my credit card company. I explained what had happened and asked them to investigate the charge as fraud. The representative was sympathetic, but said the process could take 60 to 90 days. Then I pulled my credit report. What I saw made my blood run cold. There were 3 credit cards on my report that I didn't recognize, 3 cards I never opened. The total balance across all 3 was $12,000. My credit score, which had been in the 700s, was now in the 500s. Destroyed. Rachel hadn't just stolen from me tonight. She'd been systematically destroying my credit for months. I spent the rest of the night filing police reports online, disputing the fraudulent accounts, changing every password I had. I tried to figure out how Rachel had gotten my personal information. Then, I remembered, last Christmas, I'd stayed at Rachel's house for 3 days. I'd left my purse in the guest room several times. She must have taken photos of my driver's license, my social security card, everything she needed. It was 3 in the morning when I finally fell asleep, exhausted and terrified. Tomorrow was Sunday. I'd deal with this mess on Monday. Sunday morning, I woke up to 17 emails from the credit bureaus, confirming my fraud disputes. I made coffee and sat at my kitchen table, trying to figure out my next steps. The fraudulent debt was $12,000. Combined with the $2,500 I'd just paid, I was nearly $15,000 in the hole because of Rachel. I tried calling my parents. Neither answered. I texted them. No response. Rachel had gotten to them first. I was sure of it. Probably told them some story about how I was having a breakdown or making false accusations. I thought about Rachel's motivations. We'd never been close, but this level of hatred seemed extreme. Rachel was 5 years older than me. Growing up, she'd always been competitive, always had to be better, prettier, more successful. But I thought we'd outgrown that. Then I remembered something. 2 months ago, I'd been promoted at work. I'd called Rachel to share the good news, and she'd gone quiet on the phone. When she finally spoke, she'd said congratulations, but her voice was flat. A week later, she'd unfriended me on social media. I'd thought it was an accident. Now I understood. She was jealous. Rachel worked retail at a department store, had for years. She and Todd were always struggling with money. I'd seen the collection notices on their kitchen counter at Christmas. Meanwhile, I'd just gotten a promotion to senior account manager at Thompson Marketing Group with a 20% raise. To Rachel, I was getting everything she thought she deserved. Monday morning, I got dressed for work, trying to push everything out of my mind. I needed to focus. I had a big presentation on Wednesday for a potential client. I couldn't afford to fall apart. I walked into the office at 8:30. My boss, Sandra, was waiting at my desk. "Christian, can you come to my office, please?" The way she said it made my stomach drop. Sandra was normally warm and friendly. Right now, she looked serious. Upset, even. In her office, she closed the door and sat behind her desk. She didn't ask me to sit. "I received an email over the weekend," she said slowly. "An anonymous email with some very serious allegations." "What kind of allegations?" "The email claimed you've been embezzling money from client accounts. It included bank statements and documents that appeared to show unauthorized transfers." The room tilted. "That's not true. I would never do that." "I know you wouldn't," Sandra said, and her voice softened slightly. "But HR requires us to investigate. I have no choice. You're being placed on administrative leave, effective immediately. You'll be suspended without pay for 2 weeks while we audit your accounts and investigate the claims." "Sandra, I swear to you, I haven't stolen anything. Those documents have to be fake." "I believe you. But my hands are tied. I'm sorry, Christian." I left the building in a daze. My coworkers stared as I walked past their desks. Word had already spread. I could see it in their faces. By lunchtime, everyone would assume I was guilty. In my car, I called the police detective who'd taken my identity theft report. I explained about the work email, said it had to be connected to what Rachel did on Saturday. The detective said he'd make a note in the file, but that these things took time to investigate. Time. I didn't have time. I was suspended without pay. I had rent due in 2 weeks. My credit card was maxed. My savings account had about $800 left after I'd helped my mother pay for surgery 3 months ago. I drove to Rachel's house. Her car was in the driveway, but Rachel wasn't home. Todd answered the door in sweatpants and a stained t-shirt. "Where's Rachel?" "Work," he said, leaning against the doorframe. "What do you want?" "I want to know why she's doing this to me. The identity theft, the fake emails to my work. Why?" Todd shrugged. "Maybe you should have just stayed in your lane." "What does that mean?" "It means Rachel's sick of you acting like you're better than everyone. You got the college degree, the fancy job, Dad's approval. Some of us had to work for everything we got. Rachel could have finished college if she wanted. Dad offered to keep paying. She flunked out because she was working 2 jobs to help pay for her first year while you got a free ride," Todd said. "Seems fair she gets something back now." The pieces clicked into place. This wasn't just jealousy. Rachel genuinely believed I owed her. She thought I'd stolen opportunities from her, and now she was taking what she thought was rightfully hers. "This is insane," I said. "I'm going to prove what she did." Todd smiled coldly. "Good luck with that." He shut the door in my face. I went home and called my landlord to explain I'd be a few days late with rent. He wasn't happy, but said I had until Wednesday. After that, he'd start eviction proceedings. I borrowed money from my best friend Amy, $800 that she transferred to my account that afternoon. I paid my landlord just in time, but when I called Amy to thank her, she sounded strange, distant, like she was uncomfortable. "Is everything okay?" I asked. "Yeah, of course. I just hope you're being careful with money, Christian. If you need help, real help, there are resources." "What are you talking about?" "Nothing. I'm glad I could help. I've gotta go." She hung up before I could ask what she meant. Tuesday afternoon, my mother called. She was crying so hard I could barely understand her. "Christian, You need to apologize to Rachel immediately. Mom, Rachel is the one who needs to apologize. She stole my identity. She's destroying my life. She told us everything. About the investigation at your work. About how you're stealing from your company. And now you're making these horrible accusations against her to cover it up. None of that is true. The accusations at my work are fake. Rachel sent those emails. Your own sister? You really think Rachel would do that? Yes. Because she has. She opened credit cards in my name. She faked emails and texts. She got me suspended from my job. My mother's voice turned cold. Until you apologize and get help for your problems, your father and I don't want to hear from you. Mom, please listen to me. Goodbye, Christian. She hung up. I immediately called my father. He didn't answer. I left a voicemail, begging him to call me back to listen to my side. He never did. I opened social media and immediately wished I hadn't. Rachel had posted something vague but damaging. Sometimes the people closest to you turn out to be the ones who hurt you the most. Praying for healing and truth to prevail. The comments were full of support for Rachel. Aunts, uncles, cousins, family friends, all rallying around her. A few people had even commented asking if I was okay, assuming I was the one who'd hurt Rachel. My reputation was being destroyed in real time. Amy called me that evening. Christian, I need to tell you something. What? Rachel called me 3 days ago, before the restaurant thing. She said you've been struggling with a gambling addiction. She said you've been asking everyone for money and she was worried about you. She asked me not to give you money if you called because it would just enable your addiction. My throat tightened. I don't have a gambling addiction, Amy. Rachel made that up. I know. I figured it out after you told me what happened. But Christian, she's been telling everyone this story. She's been systematically going to all your friends and family, planting seeds, making everyone doubt you. Why didn't you tell me she called? I should have. I'm sorry. I didn't think it was that serious. I thought it was just sister drama. But after what you told me about the identity theft and the work thing, I realized this is way bigger. After we hung up, I sat on my couch feeling completely isolated. Rachel had cut me off from everyone. My family believed her. My friends doubted me. My job was investigating me. My credit was ruined. I was nearly broke. I couldn't let her win. I used the last of my savings to hire a lawyer. James Burton specialized in fraud and identity theft cases. His consultation fee was $500, but I needed professional help. James was in his 50s, with gray hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. I told him everything. He took detailed notes. This is serious, he said when I finished. Identity theft, fraud, defamation, possibly extortion. But we need hard evidence that Rachel is behind it all. Right now, it's your word against hers. What do I do? Let me pull some records, credit reports, phone records if we can get them, email headers. I'll also do a background check on Rachel. Sometimes people like this have a pattern. 2 days later, James called me with shocking news. Christian, I found something. Rachel did this before. What? 10 years ago, a woman named Dana Fletcher filed a police report against Rachel for identity theft and fraud. The case was dropped when Dana moved to Oregon and withdrew her complaint. He emailed me Dana's contact information. I found her on social media and sent a message, explaining who I was and what was happening. I didn't expect her to respond, but an hour later, my phone rang. Is this Christian? The voice was cautious. Yes. Is this Dana? It is. I got your message. Oh God, she's doing it again. For the next hour, Dana told me her story. 10 years ago, she'd been Rachel's roommate for 6 months. They'd gotten along fine until Dana started dating a guy named Marcus that Rachel had a crush on. Rachel's jealousy turned vicious. She started small, taking Dana's clothes, eating her food. Then it escalated. Rachel opened credit cards in Dana's name. She told Dana's employer that Dana was stealing office supplies. She spread rumors that Dana was mentally unstable. She even filed a false police report claiming Dana had threatened her. Dana's life fell apart. She lost her job, Her credit was destroyed. Her friends abandoned her. Finally, she filed charges against Rachel. But Rachel's father, my father, hired an expensive lawyer. Rachel's lawyer contacted Dana and threatened to go after Dana's younger sister, who was still in high school at the time. They implied they'd ruin the sister's life too if Dana didn't drop the charges. Dana was terrified. She dropped the case, packed up her things, and moved to Oregon. She'd been there ever since. "I should have fought harder," Dana said, her voice thick with emotion. "I should have stopped her. Now she's doing it to you." "It's not your fault," I said. "She's a predator. She's done this before, and she'll do it again if someone doesn't stop her." "What are you going to do?" "I'm going to prove what she did. With your help, if you're willing." Dana was quiet for a long moment. "I've been running from this for 10 years. Maybe it's time I stopped running." She agreed to write a sworn statement about what Rachel had done to her. She'd testify if needed. James said Dana's testimony would establish a pattern of behavior that would strengthen my case significantly. For the first time since Saturday night, I felt a flicker of hope. Rachel wasn't invincible. She'd made mistakes before. She'd make them again. I just had to be smart enough to catch her. Wednesday morning, I met with James in his office. He'd been busy. He had copies of the fraudulent credit card applications, the fake emails sent to my workplace, phone records showing calls between Rachel's number and the restaurant where we'd had the disastrous dinner. He also had Dana's sworn statement, detailing everything Rachel had done to her a decade ago. "This is good," James said, spreading the documents across his desk. "But we need more. We need Rachel to make a fresh mistake, something we can catch in real time. How do we do that? We make her think she's won. We make her get overconfident." The plan was simple but risky. I would reach out to Rachel and pretend to be broken. I'd apologize, act defeated, agree to whatever she wanted. The goal was to make her feel safe enough to slip up, maybe even confess to something we could record. I hated the idea of groveling to Rachel. But James insisted it was our best shot. That afternoon, I texted Rachel, "Can we talk? I want to fix things." She responded immediately. "About time. Coffee tomorrow at 10. The cafe on Maple Street." Thursday morning, I met Rachel at the cafe. James had given me a small recording device disguised as a pen. It sat in my shirt pocket, recording everything. Rachel looked smug from the moment I sat down. She ordered an expensive latte, while I stuck with regular coffee I could barely afford. "I'm glad you finally came to your senses," Rachel said. "This whole thing has been so hard on me. Having my own sister accuse me of such terrible things." "I know. I'm sorry." The words tasted like poison. "I overreacted about the restaurant bill. I've been under a lot of stress." "Clearly. Mom told me about the problems at your job. I hope you get the help you need." I bit my tongue. "I'm working on it. I just want things to go back to normal with the family." Rachel stirred her latte slowly. "That's going to take time, Christian. You really hurt me. You hurt all of us." "I know. Tell me what I can do to make it right." Her eyes gleamed. "Well, for starters, you need to apologize to the family, publicly. Admit that you have problems, and that you lashed out at me unfairly." "Okay. And there's something else." She leaned forward. "Grandma's ring. The one she left you in her will." My heart sank. The ring had been our grandmother's engagement ring, worth about $5,000. Grandma had left it to me specifically because I'd spent so much time with her before she died. Rachel had always been bitter about it. "What about the ring?" "It should have been mine. I'm the oldest. It's only fair. If you give me the ring, I'll help clear up the misunderstandings with the family and at your work." So that's what this was really about. The ring. Rachel wanted money, and she'd destroy me to get it. "I'd have to get it from my safe deposit box," I said carefully. "It'll take a few days." "Fine, but Christian, don't test me. I've been patient, but my patience has limits." We finished our coffee. Rachel hugged me before leaving. A fake sisterly embrace that made my skin crawl. In my car, I played back the recording for James. He listened carefully. "She's admitting to knowledge of the work situation and offering to clear it up, which implies she was involved," James said. It's not enough for criminal charges yet, but it's a start. Keep playing along. Let's see how far she'll go. Thursday afternoon, Sandra from work called. Christian, good news. The audit is complete. You're completely cleared. The evidence against you was clearly fabricated. We traced the email to a fake account. You can come back Monday. Relief flooded through me. Thank you, Sandra. I'm sorry this happened. If you have any idea who sent those allegations, we can pursue legal action. I'm working on that. Friday evening, I came home to find my apartment had been broken into. Nothing major was stolen, but everything was wrong. Drawers were open. My closet was searched. Someone had gone through my personal belongings. I knew immediately it was Rachel. She'd been looking for the ring. Thankfully, I'd already moved all my valuables to a storage unit after James warned me this might happen. On my kitchen counter, I found a note in Rachel's handwriting. I know you're playing games. Give me what's mine, or I'll finish what I started. You have until Sunday. The threat was clear. Rachel was escalating. Saturday morning, I received a notification that Rachel had filed for a restraining order against me. The court hearing was in 2 weeks. She was claiming I'd been harassing and threatening her. If the judge granted it, I wouldn't be able to go near Rachel, her house, or any family events. She was trying to isolate me completely while making me look dangerous and unstable. James called with more information. He'd been digging into Rachel's finances. She was drowning in debt. Her mortgage was 3 months behind. She had $15,000 in credit card debt of her own, separate from what she'd fraudulently charged on my accounts. She'd even taken out a payday loan at 30% interest. She's desperate, James said. The identity theft wasn't just about jealousy or revenge. She needed your credit because hers was maxed out. And she needs that ring because she's about to lose her house. So what do? We give her exactly what she wants. We set a trap. James explained the plan. I would agree to meet Rachel on Sunday and give her the ring, but it would be a setup. James would hire a private investigator to document everything. We'd have police on standby. And I'd wear a wire to record whatever Rachel said. We need her to confess, James said. We need her to get comfortable and say something incriminating. Can you do that? I thought about everything Rachel had done. The humiliation at the restaurant, the stolen identity, the lies to my family and friends, the suspension from work, the $12,000 in fraudulent debt, the break-in, the threats. Yes, I said, I can do that. I texted Rachel. You win. I'll bring the ring Sunday. Let's meet at your house at 3. She responded immediately. Good choice. Come alone. Sunday morning, I was terrified. James assured me we had everything in place. Marcus, the private investigator, was already parked down the street from Rachel's house in an unmarked van with surveillance equipment. I was wearing a wire under my shirt. James was parked around the corner with 2 police officers who'd agreed to help. The moment she says something incriminating, we move in, James said. Just get her talking. Make her feel safe. People like Rachel love to brag when they think they've won. At 2:50, I pulled up to Rachel's house. My hands were shaking. I took a deep breath, touched the wire under my shirt to make sure it was secure, and walked to the front door. Rachel opened the door with a huge smile. Christian, come in. I walked inside and immediately froze. This wasn't the private conversation I'd expected. My parents were there. Patricia sat on the couch looking uncomfortable. Harold stood by the window, arms crossed. Todd sat in the recliner, grinning. What's going on? I asked. Family meeting, Rachel said cheerfully. I thought Mom and Dad should be here when you give me the ring, so everyone can witness you doing the right thing. This was worse than I'd imagined. Rachel had planned an ambush. She wanted to humiliate me in front of our parents one more time. I thought we were meeting alone, I said. Change of plans. Have a seat. I sat on the edge of a chair. Rachel remained standing, like a prosecutor about to make her closing arguments. My father wouldn't look at me. My mother dabbed at her eyes with a tissue. Christian came here to apologize, Rachel announced. And to return something that should have been mine from the beginning. Rachel, can we talk privately first? I asked, trying to stick to the plan. No need. We're all family here. She pulled a document from a folder on the coffee table. "Before you give me the ring, I need you to sign this." She handed me several pages, stapled together. I skimmed them and felt sick. It was a confession. A statement saying I'd stolen money from my family, that I had a gambling addiction, that I'd made false accusations against Rachel because I was mentally unstable. The last paragraph said I agreed to pay Rachel $10,000 in restitution for emotional distress and damaged reputation. "You can't be serious," I said. "Sign it, and we can all move forward. Your name gets cleared, I get compensated for what you put me through, and the family can heal." "I'm not signing this. I haven't done anything wrong." Rachel's smile disappeared. "Sign it, or I swear I'll make your life even worse than it already is." My mother spoke up. "Christian, honey, please just sign it. Let's end this." I looked at my parents. They really believed Rachel. They thought I was the problem. "No," I said firmly. "I'm not signing a false confession." Rachel's face flushed red. "You don't have a choice. Your name is on those credit cards. Your name was on the restaurant reservation. Every piece of evidence points to you being a liar and a thief. If you don't sign this and give me that ring, I'll make sure everyone knows what you really are." I stood up slowly. My hand moved toward my purse, like I was reaching for the ring. Instead, I just looked at Rachel. "Why are you doing this?" I asked quietly. "Why?" Rachel laughed bitterly. "Because I'm tired of watching you get everything. The college education Dad paid for, the fancy job, the inheritance from Grandma. You act like you're so much better than me, but you're not. You just got lucky." "I didn't get lucky. I worked hard. While I worked 2 jobs trying to pay for school, while Todd and I struggled to keep our house, while you got promoted and got raises and got everything handed to you, nothing was handed to me. That ring was handed to you. Grandma should have left it to me. I'm the oldest. It's worth $5,000, and I need it more than you do." There it was, the admission about the ring's value and her motive. But I needed more. "So you opened credit cards in my name?" I asked. Rachel smirked. "What credit cards? You mean the ones you opened and maxed out because of your gambling problem?" "I don't have a gambling problem. You created one to cover your tracks." "Prove it." "I can prove it," I said, my voice getting stronger. "I can prove you stole my identity, that you faked those texts and emails, that you sent false accusations to my work, that you've been destroying my life systematically for months." Todd stood up, looking threatening. "You need to shut up and sign the paper." "Or what? You'll forge my signature like you forged those bank statements you sent to my boss?" Rachel's eyes widened slightly. Bingo. She hadn't expected me to know about Todd's involvement. "This is ridiculous," Rachel said, but her voice wavered. "Sign the confession or get out." "No," I said, "because I didn't do anything wrong. But you did. You stole my identity. You opened 3 credit cards in my name and racked up $12,000 in debt. You faked a reservation at Bella Vista and stuck me with a $2,500 bill. You sent fraudulent emails to my workplace claiming I was embezzling. You broke into my apartment. You've been telling everyone I have a gambling addiction to isolate me from my friends and family." My parents were staring at me now, really listening for the first time. "She's lying," Rachel said quickly. "She's desperate and lying." "Am I?" I pulled my phone from my pocket, because I recorded our conversation at the coffee shop, where you admitted to knowing about the work situation and offered to clear it up, which means you were involved. Rachel lunged for my phone. "Give me that." I stepped back. "It's already backed up." "You can't destroy the evidence, Rachel." Then I played my final card. "And you've done this before, 10 years ago, to a woman named Dana Fletcher. You stole her identity, destroyed her credit, got her fired from her job, and threatened her family when she tried to press charges." Rachel went pale. "How do you know about Dana?" "Because I found her, and she's willing to testify about everything you did to her." The room was silent. My mother looked shocked. My father's expression had shifted from anger to confusion. "This is insane," Rachel said, but her voice cracked. "I didn't do anything to Dana. We had a disagreement about rent money and she overreacted." "That's not what the police report says. The report you made your father pay a lawyer to make disappear." Harold stepped forward. "What police report?" "Rachel, What is she talking about? Rachel turned on me, her face twisted with rage. You think you're so smart? You think you can just come in here and ruin everything? I'm not ruining anything. I'm telling the truth. The truth, Rachel screamed. The truth is that you've always been the favorite. Dad paid for your school while I had to drop out. Grandma left you her ring. You got the good job while I work retail. You get everything, and I get nothing. So yes, I took what should have been mine. I used your credit because mine was garbage. I made that reservation because you owe me for years of being second best. I sent those emails to your work because I wanted you to feel what it's like to lose something important. And I'll keep taking until we're even. The wire under my shirt was recording every word. My phone, still in my hand, was recording too. And outside, Marcus's cameras were capturing everything. I stopped pretending to be scared. I stood up straight and looked Rachel in the eye. Thank you for that confession, Rachel. Every word was recorded. Her face went from red to white. What? I lifted my shirt slightly, showing the wire. Everything you just said was recorded. The police are listening right now. You can't do that. That's illegal. Actually, in this state, only one party needs to consent to a recording. I consent. Todd moved toward me, but at that moment, the front door opened. James walked in, followed by 2 police officers. Rachel Harper and Todd Harper, one officer said. You're both under arrest for identity theft, fraud, and attempted extortion. Rachel screamed. You set me up. You vindictive witch. You set me up. No, I said calmly. I just gave you enough rope to hang yourself. The officers read them their rights while putting them in handcuffs. Rachel fought, screaming about how unfair this was. How I was lying. How she was the victim. Todd just looked shocked. My mother started crying. My father stood frozen, watching his oldest daughter being arrested. How could you not believe me? I said to them. I'm your daughter too. We didn't know, my mother whispered. She said you were having problems. We thought we were helping. You chose to believe her over me without even asking for my side. The officers led Rachel and Todd out of the house. Rachel was still screaming. The neighbors had come outside to watch. After all Rachel's efforts to ruin my reputation, she was the one being led away in handcuffs. James put his hand on my shoulder. You did great. That confession, combined with everything else we have, should be more than enough for a conviction. I nodded, but I didn't feel victorious. I felt exhausted. Watching my sister being arrested wasn't satisfying. It was just sad. My father finally spoke. Christian, I don't know what to say. You could start with an apology. He nodded slowly. I'm sorry. We should have listened to you. We should have believed you. My mother came over and tried to hug me. I stepped back. I need time, I said. You both chose Rachel over me without question. That hurt more than anything she did. I walked out of that house with my head high. Behind me, I could hear my mother crying and my father trying to comfort her. But I didn't look back. 3 months later, I stood in a courtroom and told my story to a jury of 12 strangers. My lawyer James had prepared me well, but I was still nervous. Across the room, Rachel sat with her public defender. She looked different, smaller somehow, less powerful. Her face was hard and bitter. Dana had flown in from Oregon to testify. She told the jury about what Rachel had done to her 10 years ago. How Rachel had destroyed her credit, gotten her fired, threatened her family. The jury listened, riveted. By the time Dana finished, several jurors were shaking their heads in disgust. The prosecutor presented mountains of evidence. The fraudulent credit card applications with my stolen information. The fake emails sent to my workplace. Phone records showing Rachel had called the restaurant to make the reservation under my name. Text message records showing the fake conversation Rachel had created. Bank statements showing Rachel's desperate financial situation. The recording from our coffee shop meeting. The video and audio from the final confrontation at her house. Rachel's lawyer tried to claim she'd been under severe financial stress and wasn't thinking clearly. That she'd made mistakes but didn't deserve to go to prison. The prosecutor countered that Rachel had committed, calculated, premeditated fraud over a period of months. That she'd done this before to Dana and gotten away with it, which made her even more dangerous. The jury deliberated for 4 hours. When they came back, the forewoman read the verdict. Guilty on all counts. Identity theft, fraud, forgery, attempted extortion. The judge sentenced Rachel to 5 years in prison with the possibility of parole after 3. She also had to pay full restitution, which totaled over $30,000 when you included the fraudulent debts, the money I'd paid at the restaurant, my legal fees, and damages for emotional distress. Todd received 3 years probation for his role in forging documents and helping Rachel with the scheme. He had to complete community service and attend counseling. Rachel's house was sold to pay the restitution. The money started coming back to me in installments. My credit was fully restored. The fraudulent accounts were removed from my record. My credit score climbed back up to where it had been before Rachel destroyed it. At work, Sandra gave me a bonus for handling the situation with such integrity. She said most people would have fallen apart, but I'd stayed professional and fought back intelligently. My coworkers apologized for believing the rumors. My reputation was not only restored but enhanced. People respected me for standing up to such calculated abuse. My parents took longer to heal. They came to me separately, both in tears, both ashamed. My mother said she'd failed me as a parent, that she should have known something was wrong, that she should have listened instead of just taking Rachel's word. My father was harder. He admitted he'd always been softer on Rachel because he felt guilty about the college situation. He'd stopped paying her tuition because her grades were terrible, but he'd always wondered if he should have given her more chances. That guilt made him blind to who Rachel really was. I told them I forgave them, but I also set boundaries. They had to earn my trust back. They couldn't just expect me to forget how they'd abandoned me when I needed them most. They agreed. It's been a slow process, but we're rebuilding. Amy apologized for doubting me, even for a second. She felt terrible that Rachel had called her with those lies about gambling. Our friendship actually grew stronger through this. Amy said watching me fight back inspired her to stand up for herself in other areas of her life. My friendship with Dana became something special. We talk at least once a week. She told me that helping me get justice finally gave her closure on what happened to her. She's started therapy to deal with the trauma Rachel caused, and she says she finally feels free. I still have my grandmother's ring. After everything that happened, I had it reset into a new design. The original setting reminded me too much of Rachel's greed. Now it's a pendant I wear close to my heart. It reminds me not of what Rachel tried to take, but of what I refused to let her steal. My integrity, my truth, my strength. I moved to a nicer apartment in a better neighborhood. The restitution money helped, but more than that, I got another promotion at work. I'm now a director at Thompson Marketing Group, managing a whole team. I'm making good money, saving, rebuilding my life the right way. I even started dating someone. His name is Brandon. He's kind, honest, and respectful. I told him everything about Rachel on our 3rd date, expecting him to run. Instead, he said it showed incredible strength that I fought back and won. We've been together for 2 months now. I'm taking it slow, being cautious, but I'm hopeful. The most important thing I learned through all of this is that family doesn't give you the right to abuse someone. Blood doesn't excuse betrayal. For years, I'd made excuses for Rachel's competitive behavior, her little jealousies, her cutting remarks. I'd told myself that's just how sisters are. I was wrong. Toxic people, even family members, will destroy you if you let them. And sometimes the most loving thing you can do for yourself is to walk away and let justice take its course. I also learned that I'm stronger than I ever knew. When Rachel had me cornered, isolated, and nearly broken, I could have given up. I could have signed that confession, handed over the ring, and tried to move on. But I didn't. I fought back intelligently, gathered evidence, set a trap, and won. A few weeks ago, I visited my grandmother's grave. I stood there for a long time, just thinking. I told her about everything that happened. about how Rachel tried to take the ring she'd left me, about how I fought to keep it and to keep my life. I told her I understood now why she'd left the ring to me specifically. She'd seen something in Rachel, some darkness, some jealousy. She'd known I would treasure the ring for its sentimental value, while Rachel would only see dollar signs. I promised my grandmother that I'd never let anyone diminish my worth again, that I'd never again make myself small to make someone else comfortable, that I'd stand up for myself, always. Last week, I went to dinner with Amy, Dana, and Brandon. We went to a nice restaurant, nothing as fancy as Bella Vista, but comfortable and warm. When the bill came, I picked it up with a genuine smile. "This one's on me," I said. "And this time, it's my choice." Everyone laughed. I paid happily, grateful to be surrounded by people who actually cared about me. People who supported me, believed in me, and wanted the best for me. That's the real lesson. The family you choose is sometimes more important than the family you're born into. Real family doesn't tear you down. Real family lifts you up. And sometimes, saying "not my problem" to toxic people is exactly the right answer. My problem was never the bill at the restaurant. My problem was allowing myself to be treated as less than I deserved. I fixed that problem. I stood up, fought back, and reclaimed my life. And that's worth more than any amount of money. So let me ask you something. Have you ever had someone in your life, maybe even family, who tried to tear you down out of jealousy? How did you handle it? Did you fight back or walk away? I'd love to hear your stories in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button. It helps me know you want to hear more stories like this. And if you're not already subscribed, please subscribe to my channel. I share stories every week about overcoming betrayal, standing up for yourself, and finding strength you didn't know you had. Share this story with someone who needs to hear it. Someone who's dealing with a toxic family member or friend. Someone who needs to know that it's okay to set boundaries and fight for yourself. Thank you so much for listening to my story. I hope it inspires you to stand up for yourself when someone tries to tear you down. Remember, you deserve respect, honesty, and love. Don't settle for less. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you in the next story.